You ready? Let's do this. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the GROklahoma Podcast Show, which is an initiative of the Tracking and Evaluation Core of the Oklahoma Shared Clinical and Translational Resources, also known as OSCTR. This is a podcast where we highlight the processes of clinical and translational researchers in Oklahoma and those who support them. And today on the podcast, I have the utmost pleasure of having one of our very own, Dr. Janis Campbell. She is a professor of epidemiology. She has nearly 30 years of experience conducting research and evaluation with health prevention and control programs. She does work in cancer health disparities and also working with American Indian tribes. She is a record of she has a record of CDC, NIH, and state-funded research. She also regularly teaches graduate courses in Geographic Information Systems in health, principles of epidemiology, and problems in biostatistics and epidemiology. Today, she has been fortunate enough to work with over 75 motivated students. Of these, 22 of them have been successful doctoral students that have published their research findings and have been invited to present their findings at both national and international meetings. In total, her students have produced over 36 peer-reviewed articles for the 6 national presentations and 7 international presentations. Dr. Campbell has collaborated on over 30 successful grants, cooperative agreements, and contracts. She's also the co-director of the Tracking and Evaluation Core within the OSCTR. Everyone, please join us in welcoming Dr. Campbell to the podcast. Yay! Thank you. It's really so nice to have you here, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Problem. Happy to be here.
All right, let's get things first. Starting with the foundational questions, how and where did you grow up? Are you an Okie native?
I am an Okie native. Mm-hmm. I have been here my whole life.
Oh, wow. What part of Oklahoma?
Just outside of Oklahoma City, a suburb, Yukon.
Yukon? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Family still here?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I live my mother is getting ready to move into some apartments right behind my house.
Oh.
But right now she's a couple of blocks, a mile or so away.
Yeah.
My son's very close. My brother lives just a few miles away as well.
So growing up in Yukon, how would you describe your childhood?
How would I describe my childhood? Very suburban, very suburban.
Mm.
Grew up with a lot of my relatives around. Maybe it wasn't as suburban as I think, but anyway, a lot of my relatives around. Grew up with I have like 40 cousins, so I grew up with a lot of cousins.
Oh, wow. That's a healthy and bountiful family reunion. As a child, what was your dream? What did you want to do when you grew up, or what kind of solutions did you want to, problems did you want to find solutions for as a kid?
What kind of problems?
Yeah.
So I've always known that I liked science ever since I was middle school, and we actually had a real science class. So that was something I always wanted to do, but I struggle to do science just for science. I feel like we have to do science to help people and to make a difference in people's lives. I understand the value of science for science's sake, but I really feel like I have to do something that's going to be of some sort of greater good to them.
For you, it was more of the translational part of it. Like, how do you translate science into actual impact?
Yeah.
We're way ahead of your time. Now, let's talk a little bit about your journey and what sparked your interest in conducting research and evaluation in the field of health prevention and control. And was there like any personal experiences or connections that influenced that path?
So for me, it really wasn't one big sort of aha moment. It was a bunch of little decisions that ended up sending me on a path that I had no expectation of going on, but found that I really, really enjoyed. And that was some things like I said before, when I was in school, I really liked science. When I got into college, I discovered anthropology, which was science with people. So that was fun. And then I worked at the time as a graduate student doing research in diabetes with Muskogee Creek Nation.
Oh, nice.
And so I frankly needed a job, which, we all at some point have to get out of graduate school and get a job. So I got a job. Yeah. I got a job at the state health department, which turned out to be a huge blessing. I was hired to do planning and evaluation as an anthropologist for the family planning and maternity programs, and the rest is sort of history. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you at the State Department for?
I was at the health department for 17 years.
Oh, wow. That's a career right there.
Exactly.
So how did you transition from there to academia?
I was really lucky. They were looking for somebody who did chronic disease epidemiology. I was the chronic disease epidemiologist for the state. For about 10 years, I ran the cancer registry and another grant called REACH, which is racial and ethnic approaches to community health. So, what was I going to say? Sorry about that.
Yeah, academia. Yeah.
Oh, academia.
Yeah.
There really isn't,
a direct path, yeah,
there really is.
It was like little decisions that coalesced to that.
Exactly.
I think the moral of that story is that whatever you find to do, just do it well, because you never know where it's going to lead you next, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So how long have you been in academia for?
About 17 years. Coincidental.
You had a very long career. Contrasting your experience with the health department and here, what are some differences or similarities between the two paths? And which one is easier, relatively speaking? Oink, oink.
Yeah. Neither is easy.
I knew the answer to that question.
Yeah. So neither is terribly easy. But I would say with the health department, when you're doing planning and evaluation for a health department program, you have a lot of influence on that program.
I see.
So you are the person that makes the decisions on how I'm going to measure the success of that program. How am I going to measure whether or not the program is effective, whether it's efficient, does it work? You have that power in your hands, and so it's extremely daunting.
Yeah, and imagine for someone like you that is all about the direct translation, it was almost like living your dream job, even though there was a lot of risk associated with it. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, thank you for that. Now, you're a professional and you teach, graduate courses, which can be quite demanding. And you're also female. How do you balance that? What's that thing they always say, work-life balance, or is it integration? I'm not sure about the correct, up-to-date term. And how do you also prioritize self-care amidst all of this, things you have going on in the fire?
Well, I would say I don't do it very well. I'm sorry.
I can relate.
I wish I did have that magic bullet. There's a lot of us that it could help.
Yeah.
But I think, COVID taught us all something different. And one of the things that it taught me was, through this sort of forced isolation, it taught me I have to be more in tune with myself. And that I can do that after being forced to for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I think that it helped me. I don't think it helped everyone.
Forced isolation. I like that. Maybe something we can practice more often. Thinking, let me make a note to tell my chair about that. I need me some forced isolation. Thank you for that. I think, your response is very human. We all try to be the best version of ourselves and prioritize our self-care. But I guess I'm similar to you in the sense that you have so much to do and you want to do so much. And sometimes your self-care just, it's like the last thing on the list, even though it should be top. But hey, let's talk about your research. You work with a very special population, the Native population, and you've worked in addressing cancer health disparities in that population. I don't work with that population, but I do know how the difficulty in just building trust and getting things going. If I may just clarify this, are you a tribal member?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So maybe walk us through what was the beginning like for you when you think about reflexivity? Like you're an outsider, but you care about these issues. How did you break through that barrier? For those that might be listening, as to going into a space where you don't look like them, like somebody that might be interested in Black studies, but they're not Black, or maybe Hispanic studies, but they're not Hispanic. How are you able to, penetrate into that community, and what has it been like for you?
Well, I think first of all, I was raised in Oklahoma, so I was raised with tribal populations growing up.
Yeah.
So this is something I knew. My best children growing up would go to powwows with her tribe. So this is something that I've had a passion for a very long time. But I would say doing cancer epi sort of came about again. It was another little decision that I decided to move to chronic disease from something I absolutely loved, which was, maternity and family planning. But I moved to chronic disease and then took over the cancer registry. And I really didn't have any idea of the disparities and I knew that as when I moved over to chronic disease, I learned that very quickly. I learned how prevalent cancer was and how that's something that we can show some success in. We haven't done a great job so far, but we're starting to. We're starting to see some impact.
Thank you for that. Now, it's one thing to conduct research, it's another thing to do the evaluation part of it, especially in sensitive and vulnerable population like you work with. And this can also raise some ethical considerations and challenges, right? Now, how do you navigate these challenges and ensure that the well-being and the privacy of the participants? Because I imagine that sometimes you might have clashes of cultures between the university and the community. For example, consent forms, they're like 10 pages long with all these jargons, but then you need them to sign it, but they're like, hold on, what am I signing? Oh, we need the social security number. All of these policies. So how have you been able to just balance all of that? What are some tips for budding and upcoming researcher scientists like us?
So I think one of the things is just always be upfront and, open about what is going to happen during this research project. Research in communities, especially communities of limited resources, I don't think we really understand how much of a burden what we're doing with research can be on a limited community. Even, we think, well, it's just an hour of your time. Well, I've waited tables before. That's an hour I'm not getting paid. Yeah. I mean, I've done that. I put myself through college doing that. So I know that whole life and that whole, you have to be careful with their time. Frankly, their knowledge and their expertise and just be open and upfront about what you think might happen, even though we never know. Yeah.
I like that. Being open and being transparent. And when changes happen or new policies come up, make sure you, be very upfront about it. And I think even having some community advisory board members within that community that can work with them and don't go there like, oh, I'm the expert. No, just flip the role. You are the expert. We're here to work together. I think that also helps. Now, this is a difficult question, I imagine. It's like saying, who's your favorite child or what's your favorite music? Now, I'm going to ask, you've had this abundance of experience in, spanning 3 to 4 decades. What would you say are some of your most significant research or insights that have emerged from the work of, either your doctoral students and their published articles or even yours or presentations? What's that one moment where you felt like, this is a good time. I want to sit in this moment.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've had one, I've only been doing this, I only been doing this for 17 years.
That's a long time, Dr. Campbell.
Well, there's a few around here, a number more than me. Yeah. So I haven't had as many students as I would like to have, but I've had one recently who came to us with just this huge amount of experience with HPV, HPV studies and cervical cancer work in the South Pacific. And you think, well, you're in the middle of Oklahoma. So,
far away from the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly. It's a long plane ride. But he was able to come here. He worked with Cherokee Nation, and he's produced, he graduated, when did he graduate? Last year, the year before?
Oh, wow.
And he's produced seven manuscripts with Cherokee Nation, with on HPV, on different.
As a grad student?
Yeah.
Man, why is he making all of us look bad? Come on, who's this person? I need your number.
Oh, they're
overachiever, you. But congrats.
Yeah, exactly. And you know who you are.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's quite impressive. Wow. Oh wow. Well, the other students coming in, you can do up to 7. Okay, this is probably going to be the last question when it comes to research. Can you share some examples of grants or maybe contracts or cooperative agreements that you have collaborated on? And for someone like you that is really big on that transition, community impact, if you can highlight one, what were the main objectives and what was also the outcome of the project?
So one project that I am really excited about that it's still going on, so I'm fortunately very lucky to get to do it, is a project with the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. Mm-hmm. They're the Tribal Epidemiology Center for the Oklahoma area, which is Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas. So they have a project called Good Health and Wellness in Indian Country, and I've worked with the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board, since their inception, which was, 96 or something like that, somewhere around in there. And I've always worked with them because they're a population. They serve a population in Oklahoma that doesn't get served otherwise, like small tribes that can't apply for some of these grants. They just don't have the population. Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's a really good way to look at it. Okay. And this particular project, which I helped them to write the grant, so I have a little bit of ownership into it. It's one of my babies. Nice. But it's a CDC-funded program. It's designed to support coordinated, holistic approaches to healthy living, chronic disease prevention, reinforcing the work already underway in Indian Country. I mean, we have IHS facilities, we have NIH grants, we have all of this work already going on. Well, this project supports some of that work. And so it adds another stream of funding, another way to reinforce some of the things that are already going on. The purpose of the funding in Oklahoma, they provide 4 tribal nations with large sums of money, large grants, and then 5 others with smaller grants. And so one of the things we're able to do is work with the community. The community gets to decide what the problem is.
Wow, like a flipped research. Yes. We have the money. We're not coming with the research questions.
Exactly.
We have the money. Tell us how best can we serve you.
Exactly.
Imagine if we did research that way.
It's doable. I've done it.
What kind of grant? What's that funding mechanism called? CDC?
It's a CDC. Wow. It's a special targeted one toward tribal nations and toward tribal epicenters.
That's. Mm-hmm. So how long has it been going for now, the grant?
9 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. It's a multi-year, multi-center, multi-PI, I imagine. Okay.
Yes. Okay. And it's a wonderful program. It's something that CDC is doing. We don't see as much of that with NIH, which is unfortunate, but CDC is funding this and doing a fantastic job of keeping tribes engaged.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. I guess what I can tease out from your story so far is you talk about little decisions, but I think they're not quite little, Dr. Campbell, but let's just call them little, just to stay, in congruence with your terminology. But it's finding out what your life passion is and then seeing how you can keep giving back through that mechanism. I think just whatever you find in front of you, just keep doing them well, because you never know what the next big break will come. And so thanks for that reminder. Now, let's talk about mentoring. So I imagine that you've had people who have poured so much into you, because, you know how to say mentoring creates that ripple effect of positive changes, and as mentees go on to become even better mentors and they pay it forward. Are you able to highlight, you don't have to name them in particular. If you want to name them, that's fine, but just your favorite mentors and why are they your favorite mentors? And I imagine that you implement some of their principles in your mentoring today.
Well, I try to. So we have, I would say one of my I have 2 major academic mentors, and both of them are here at the College of Public Health. One I would consider, and I would consider a mentor toward everybody in our department. She was fantastic. Is the late Julie Stoner.
Oh, yeah. I met her. She was great. May her soul rest in peace.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was. She really helped me because I came over from the state health department. I did
as an anthropologist.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like, I don't understand what's tenure again? What is that?
What is this tenure you speak of?
Yes. What are you talking about? So she mentored me through that. She helped me to, we came here. We were very fortunate. We taught our first class together when she came. And she was able to drag me into academia and make me pretty much understand what I was supposed to be doing, which is what you want a mentor to do.
Yeah. Showed you the ropes.
Yep.
So what would you say has been the most rewarding aspect, you being on the other side now, of mentoring and guiding students?
Well, that's a good question. I think being on the other side, there's a couple of things I really like.
Yeah.
One of those is seeing successes. You get to, I got to do that at the state health department as well. You get to see successes, but with students, you get to see the successes right in front of you. They're not been down the road. Yeah, they're right in front of you. And seeing the students' successes, seeing the students understand, or I teach a class called GIS and Health, and one of the things I love about that class is seeing people be able to, by the end of that class, tell me what I'm doing wrong in ArcGIS, which is phenomenal. So watching that sort of growth. And the other part of that is recognizing and being able to see the challenges and see the successes that can grow out of those challenges. Because again, I've had some students that have had some challenges. And being able to see them and watch them grow out of those challenges. And really become, again, a better person for that.
You know what? I like that part. I don't think we talk about it enough. I remember when I was in grad school, I had hit a stumbling block. I couldn't write anymore because I was going through some mental health issues. And I remember my advisor telling me, there's nothing new I haven't seen before. Because as a student, you think it's the end of the world. And her words just brought me out of that funk. Like, you need to take care of yourself. It's okay, take a break and, go take care of your health. And there's nothing I can talk to you about. Just normalizing that process. And hearing you say, this now about the successes coming out of the challenges, I think that's really, that's normalizing a lot of things. Because for grad students, there's just so much coming your way. You're expected to be this high-functioning individual. And if you have an additional layer of difficulty, like I did, being an immigrant, and all the things you have to adjust to, it's so difficult. But your mentoring style, I think it's, top notch. And so thank you for just saying that. Now, for students you work with, what skills do you look out for, or even qualities do you watch out for in potential candidates? And how do you mentor and guide them through these challenges, or even, their research process?
So and this is for better or worse, I'm a fairly hands-off. I like to make sure that they have the resources, which is often hard to do for graduate students, to make sure they have the resources to succeed. I want to see them, for example, being able to do presentations nationally and being able to show their work. And when I work with tribal partners, having the tribal partners be able to show their work, because that doesn't happen all that often. So, one of the things, the essential skills that I look for, I like to see somebody who can ask the right questions. That's a key to research, is asking the right questions and learning how to ask the right questions. So once you start with that, the rest of it is not easy, but easier.
You know what? That's a very smart answer, because you think you should be someone that knows all the right things, but asking the right questions, So maybe to grad students listening to this, or postdoc, remember, there are no stupid questions. You don't have to have all the right answers, as long as you're able to ask the right questions. Oh, wow. Yeah. You're dropping a lot of truth bombs today, Dr. Campbell. Let's talk about, quickly on this topic of research and mentoring. Can you share a memorable experience or a success story that deeply impacted you and reinforced your passion for community engagement or even addressing health disparities?
One of the things that I would talk to students about, or would talk to anybody wanting to work with American Indian communities in particular, is it just takes time. It's like everything else, it just takes time. There have been a history of for lack of a better word, bad actors, people who have done inappropriate things, and sometimes they don't even know they're doing inappropriate things. It's just not being aware of how you behave. It's not being aware of the culture that we have in academia, which is a culture of, it's fairly brutal. Our goal is to figure out what's wrong with your research. Exactly.
Well, the cleanup crew on aisle 5.
Exactly.
Sometimes it costs more speed ups than cleanup.
Exactly. And so that can be really brutal, and we have to realize that our way of doing business in science isn't necessarily the way that a community does business.
Yes, that's true.
So learning how to speak to a community in a respectful way and understand that you're ignorant.
Yeah.
You don't know. I've been here my whole life. There's a lot of things I don't know in this state.
Thank you for that. So those are some of the key challenges. Now, let's talk about OSCTR, which is, one of the other leadership roles that you are part of. Can you tell us about your role and why you got into OSCTR? And then a main question to that would be, you are the co-director of the Tracking and Evaluation Core. What are some of the goals and objectives of that?
Okay, so some of the goals, I will tell you what attracted me to OSCTR was, let's see, how do I say that? First of all, I had to know what OSCTR was. So there's a few things that we could do better in that. I think we know that, and this is one of them that is hopefully going to do that. People will learn what OSCTR is and learn about what are the resources that it can provide. I think once I learned about it, I discovered this is what I do. I want to take science that we all are working very, very hard to do and bring it into the communities where it makes a difference in their lives. So some of our goals in tracking and evaluation, well, I would say we have 3 main goals. We have our first one, which is to strengthen and oversee, obviously, the execution of the internal tracking and evaluation for the short-term and long-term goals. That's obviously the first thing we have to do. Our second goal is to use these data to monitor progress, to inform decision-making, to promote diversity, and to support improvements in clinical and translational research programs throughout OSCTR and our partner institutions, and to strengthen those collaborations. So, one of our main goals is to collaborate with other OSCTR or even potential OSCTR. People who are interested in pilot projects. It's still our goal to collaborate and to work with other partners. And finally, our goal is our third goal is to share successes and broadly disseminate our efforts to promote peer learning, to identify and implement our best practices, and to document those challenges and lessons. So that's one of the things that we're doing right here.
Right now, yeah.
Science
and visual, Thank you. And as the co-director, I guess it's been how many years now?
I started right before COVID hit. So.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So I had never met anybody. I don't think I met you for 2 years.
Yes. But we kind of saw each other. I saw your bosses. I can recognize you from neck up. So let's talk about GIS, which is, Geographic Information Systems, which I think is sophisticated. I have a colleague, shout out to Dr. Wong, Dr. Kong, Amanda Kong. She does geography work as well. I imagine in Oklahoma you have a field day because, it's mostly rural, and then because 30 miles north, east, west, south, you're hitting tumblebees, weeds, and all that. How does that play a crucial role in your research and evaluation work? And how do you specifically incorporate, GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems, especially in the context of health?
So GIS has some really powerful tools for researchers and evaluators. It allows you to analyze, it allows you to visualize, and that's something that we don't get to do as often. To really visualize what we're seeing and to interpret spatial data. So what does GIS allow us to do? It allows us to conduct spatial analysis, to look for patterns, to look for relationships, and to look for those relationships that are environmental, that are around us, not just within us, so to speak, like our genes or something like that. But what all of this stuff around us in this place we live. If we live in an area, in an environment that there are no parks, then where are we going to go for leisure time activities? You know, if it's an urban area with no park, or if it's a rural area with no parks and dangerous roads, you know, how are you going to do that? So I think GIS allows us to look at that, you know, from a 20,000 foot, if you will, perspective on a map. It's critical for our lives. It's critical for everything. I do want to talk a little bit about data visualization too.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's one of those things that seems very simple. It's make a pretty map, but making a pretty map can mean the difference in a legislator, for example, deciding whether your program makes or breaks. You know, he sees this map, she sees this map and goes, oh, we have a problem in my area, don't we? Okay, I think I will support this bill. So it's an extreme visualization and being able to look at this map and see and explain what it means.
What the red shaded area means.
Yeah, exactly.
Red means bad.
Red is bad. Are you from the red area?
Avoid the red.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I imagine you also have to have a good idea about geography to be able to love GIS, right?
A little bit, maybe. I mean, it helps.
Because I'm bad with Southeast South. Because when I texted you about your office, like I'm in the Southeast corner. I'm like, okay, I don't do Southeast West. I still think it's a scam somewhere. I just looked at the office number. I'm like, okay, I can get to the office number. So I don't think GIS is in the future for me because I cannot read maps and I don't know north, east, west, south. It's all very relative. Like when I stand here, it becomes north, but when I turn the other around, it becomes south. Like, tell me, make it make sense. All right, we're rounding up now, and I want to explore your future, and then now. Now, throughout your career, you've probably faced several challenges. You know, I imagine, and maybe by virtue of you changing jobs, one, and maybe being female, or just so many things. Are you able to highlight some examples of the top ones and how you've been able to work around those challenges? And for people who might be listening to this, who might, fit into other phases of those life where you had those challenges, what are some encouraging words or even, words of wisdom you're able to impact on them?
Well, I don't know if I have any words of wisdom about
I'm sure you do. You've given us little decisions, force of isolation. Yeah. I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from, Dr. Campbell.
So, I haven't had any I have been fortunate. I have had, for the most part, extremely understanding and really good bosses. And that helps a lot when you have people who understand. And so I've been very fortunate in that sense. But some of the challenges, I would say the one that I'm dealing with right now, my child is 40, so that's not an issue.
Oh, wow.
But dealing with having, he is a special needs child. And so dealing with that and then with aging parents and being caught right there in the middle and trying to keep a career going while you're trying to take care of both of the.
Oh, that must be hard.
Yeah, that's a challenge. And I think a lot of women are in a similar, taking care of their kids at the same time as they're trying to, as they say, this is a truism, but it's definitely a truism, is that, you can work any 80 hours you want a week when you're in academia.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So I think the moral of the story is just keep it going and understanding your unique peculiarities and what that might limit you from doing or maybe enhance some of your abilities, but just actually acknowledging what you have as well. Thank you. Now, what are the key areas, in your opinion, where further research and evaluation are needed to address some of the unique problems we have in Oklahoma, especially when it comes to improving health outcomes and reducing disparities, especially among underserved populations?
So some of the unique challenges?
Yeah. Where should we be putting our attention, both funders and those that are writing the grants? Those are like tips, insider trading.
Oh, if I had the tips. So what are the unique challenges in Oklahoma? I think one of the things that when I got into cancer work, one of the things that I noticed was Oklahoma is fairly average on our incidence cases of cancer. And, we're in 25th, around in that area.
How many years ago was this?
Always. We've always been sort of right in the middle.
Yeah.
But we're the third worst when it comes to cancer mortality.
Mortality, I was about saying that, yeah.
And that right there speaks to sort of the challenges that I think we have in Oklahoma. A lot of times in Epi, we look for something to compare. We have to have a comparison group.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that we do. And when you're at some place like Oklahoma and you're the third worst to begin with, the whole population.
There was another one. Is it Mississippi?
Yes, that is a public health truism. Thank God for Mississippi. Sorry about that, Mississippi.
Sorry, no offense to any Mississippians listening to this. You just always make us look good. That's why we like you guys.
Although we're starting to get that little moniker.
Oklahoma, please.
Yeah, thank God for Oklahoma. But I think just living in a poor state, which again has limited resources.
Yeah.
You just have to do what you can.
Yeah. And even like tobacco use and alcohol as well, and things that might predispose one to cancer, that can also add to the mortality rate you're saying. So.
Yeah, we're improving. We're getting so much better. We still are very bad when it comes to the rest of the United States when it comes to things like smoking rates.
I know. It's such a unique state. Now, considering that we have, emerging technologies, for example, hyperintelligence with, AIs and whatnot, and the landscape of the healthcare is also changing. How do you envision the future of research and evaluation in the field of health prevention and control programs? How do you envision that changing in the next few years?
I don't know that it's going to change as much as people think. I think AI is going to help with some of the simpler things that we need to do. We can ask ChatGPT questions and we'll generally get a pretty shallow.
It's bad at citations though.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It does it so confidently. I'm like, where did you get this confidence for a drummed up fake citation? Bad.
Wikipedia.
Oh yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah. So that, I think AI. I just don't think AI is going to be able to replace. I've been working. This week has been my article week, so I've been working on articles all week.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it would get back to the question again. If we knew how to ask all the questions, then AIs would be phenomenal.
I know.
We don't know how to ask
the right questions.
The right questions to get the answers that we're looking to and looking for. So I think it's gonna make a difference. I think it'll make several things that we do a lot easier.
If you can write a grant, I'm going to sign up for one.
Yeah, exactly.
Just write everything for me and I can just minimally revise it. Be my reviewer number 2 as well. Exactly. So for those that are developing AI stuff, those are my ideas, okay? Get back with me. I agree with you. I think it has the propensity to change so many things. As long as we can embrace it and understand that it has, the downside as well. And I've seen a lot of people panic about it. Oh, what if it replaces my job? Well, if my job is that replaceable, maybe I should go find myself doing something else. But not trying to be insensitive here. But I think it has a lot of merit to good, but also acknowledging the shortcomings, right? Okay. So let's get a little bit personal as a wind down. Outside of your professional pursuits, what activities or hobbies do you enjoy in your free time? And basically, how do you recharge and take care of your well-being? So this is coming back full circle with the self-care question. But what are some of your hobbies?
So my big hobby that I've been doing for about 10 years is I row. So I row with the crew on the Oklahoma River.
Yeah, the rapids is
the river out there.
And
I've been doing that.
That took a lot of muscle power.
Exactly.
Like 5 a.m. rowing?
No, I don't do 5 a.m.
What do you go 6 a.m.?
I do late. I do the evening rowing.
Are you a morning person, Dr. Kondo?
No.
Okay, good. I always say I can rise and shine, but not at the same time.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
that's a lot of cardio right there.
It is, but it's a barrel of fun. And it's also, it allows you to get out of your mind. You have to think so much about the technical the technical
and the
things
teamwork as well,
and being, in tune with exactly your 7 other
people,
crewmates.
Yeah.
So that is something that I use to recharge, get myself out of my head, if you will. So
that's a neat hobby. Has the boat ever capsized before?
Not on me. Okay. I have seen it, but
and everybody made that alive?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah.
So you have to be a good swimmer to be able to do that. Do they require that?
They actually don't. You can wear a life vest if you'd like.
Do they mandate it, or it's just optional?
It's just optional. If you do a swim test, then you don't have to wear a life jacket.
Because it can prove that you can swim. I see. Wow. Are you guys do competitions, or is just?
We do a couple a year. We have one coming up. Yeah.
What are you competing with?
We other corporate teams.
Are you for the OU team?
We don't have one anymore. We used to have one. I actually row with the Oklahomans.
Oh. Well, hey, it's still Oklahoma, so yeah.
It's Oklahoma, and I've rowed with them for about 3-4 years. So
I have 2 more questions, and we're done. If you would have a superpower for a day, what would it be, and how would you use it?
I have been thinking about that. What would I do? I don't know. I would love to make the world fair. If I could just make the world fair.
How's that going to work?
I don't know.
Yeah.
And people would actually get what they deserve rather than what they...
Just enough?
Yeah.
But not too much?
Exactly. They would get... I would just love to see...
Making the world fair.
More... Yeah, fairness in the world.
That's a noble quest. I don't know how it's going to work.
I don't know how it's going to work either. The only thing I could think of that a superpower would.
That's a smart answer. Usually I would hear, for me, telekinesis, being able to travel and fly.
Flying would be fun, but I don't think it would help the world so
Thank
much.
you for that. Finally, we have such a beautiful campus. I didn't tell you about this question beforehand. What's your favorite spot on campus?
Oh, on campus?
Yeah.
I actually like the area, where the bird library is, and where you can go in on the basement down below. Yeah. I love that area. That garden back there.
Yes. That has the fountain and all that. Yeah.
That is.
The times I've been there, the fountains have been, on downtime because of, weather, winter time. Yep. But it looks so beautiful. You just sit out there and hang out.
There's seats underneath that you don't even see people. It's very quiet.
Okay.
It's even beautiful. They do
We'll call it the Dr. Campbell spot. Well, this has really been nice chatting with you. I just cannot thank you enough. I've learned so much from you. You talked about little decisions, force of isolation, and also the power of just going forward and not being afraid to take up a challenge. You came from the State Department of Health, was there for a whole career, 17 years. You're like, let me just up the ante a little bit. I may just, come into academia, which is a totally different beast. But here you are killing it. And despite all the things you have to juggle with your home life, and you're doing it well. And thanks for that reminder of just, going after your dreams. I also learned from you the propensity to ask the right questions. Like, we live in a world where we value being smart and saying the right things. But sometimes it's better to be able to ask the right questions. So thanks for that. Just want to say thank you for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you.
How do you feel?
Me.
I know you're a little bit like, oh my gosh.
A little bit, yeah.
How do you feel now?
Good.
Okay. Well, everyone, that was the podcast with Dr. Campbell. Don't forget to check us out on Podbean. That's the official app for the podcast. And also our email address, which is GROklahoma podcast @gmail.com, and it's also at ouhsc.edu. So that's the GROklahoma podcast at gmail.com and the GROklahoma podcast at ouhsc.edu. We're also on Instagram as GROklahoma podcast. Well, that's such a mouthful. In any event, this has been a production from the OSCTR Tracking and Evaluation Corps. Catch you on another episode of the GROklahoma Podcast Show. I remain your host, Dr. Obusaya. Bye for now. Yay.